Hello and welcome to the Jewellery Maker Academy. My name's Alison Tarry and today we're going to be looking at Oriental Chainmaille weaves. What do we need for chainmaille? We need jump rings. You can do the Oriental weaves are very forgiving in sizes. You can do them, some of them you can do them with the same sizes. Mostly they have two different sizes, usually have a bigger jump ring and a smaller jump ring. You can have textured jump rings. You can use closed jump rings for some of the weaves as well, depending on how you make them, depends on which jump rings you need to have closed. So they're a very useful chainmaille genre that you can use a lot of stash items, a lot of things that you've got lying around, or you can go out and get custom made things. So once you've got your jump rings, we need some tools. Chainmaille is very good for basic tools. You basically need a couple of pairs of pliers. So I prefer using a flat nose plier, either or. You can use chain nose pliers, you can use bent nose pliers. The joy with a bent nose plier is you usually work with two pliers in hand. So if you use your bent nose that way round, you've got quite a big surface area that you're covering. If you need to get into a tight spot, you just turn them round and you've got a nice fine tip. So that's the bonus of having the bent nose pliers. It gives you a very broad base to open something and a very fine. They're an acquired taste. You have to get used to using them. And the other thing I'd recommend is a twist of wire, just a bit of scrap wire, or you can use a paper clip or anything like that. All it is to give you something to hang on to while you're chainmailing. When you start, like most things, it's very awkward to start with, and if you're working on tiny jump rings, trying to hold on to those while you're then doing something else within it, it becomes very fiddly. So you just pop a piece of wire in and then you can hang on to the wire, so it just makes things simple. So that's what we need to get going. Now you also have something called aspect ratios. Your aspect ratio is the inner diameter, so from here to here of your jump ring, divided by the gauge of your wire in millimeters. So it's all in millimeters. So if this is a 10 millimeter jump ring and this is a 1 millimeter gauge wire, then this would have an aspect ratio of 10. Now this is not as important in the Japanese, in that you can use a lot of different aspect ratios. So I tend to work more on just what fits in what, which is basically what aspect ratio is, but it takes it down the maths route. So the choice is yours, which route you go down. So for these demonstrations, I'm going to be working with super large jump rings, which you could actually make jewellery with, but they just make it a lot easier for you to see. It can be a little bit loose sometimes, but again, with the Chinese and Japanese and the Oriental style chainmails, then it doesn't really matter so much. The other thing that's different about the Oriental chainmaille is most chainmails have staggered, perpendicular, they go at angles, whereas the Japanese Oriental, you have one flat one, one vertical, and you have a bed of flat ones, and then all the connecting ones will be vertical. So they come in the two planes. The vertical ones tend to be smaller. Like I said, they can be the same size, but that's the position of them, rather than sort of European is all staggered like that, Byzantine, Persian, they're all slightly different shapes, whereas the Oriental is very much a flat plane held together. Right, so let's get started with your first chapter. In this chapter, we're going to look at a 3-in-1 technique. So all the Japanese, the Oriental chainmails, all the basic ones have numbers. So what do the numbers mean? A 3-in-1 is what it says on the tin. They're all what they say on the tin. They're very descriptive. 3 jump rings in each one. So if you look on this piece here, every one of these jump rings has got 3 small ones in. So if I pull it over, because it's draped, If I pull it over, and we'll have a look on the overhead. So you can see you get, because it will drape slightly differently. So you see you get all these circles, and each one of these has 3 jump rings in, apart from the edges. The edges are slightly different, but every one of the main jump rings in there has 3 smaller jump rings in it to connect it. But when it drapes, the more you have, the more you'll get these flowers. So if you do a bigger bib, or you make a cuff, you'll see the circles going in more. Then as you drape it, it will tend to do that. So you see it less than if it's open like that. So I'll pop this back on the bust. There we go. Whoops. There we go. Right, so we're going to start off, we're going to pop 1 jump ring onto our piece of wire, and then we're going to scoop up 3 jump rings. Now for each of these small jump rings, pop it back in there, they have to be big enough to take 2 of your big jump rings. So this is where your calculations come in, but the easiest way to do it is each of those jump rings has to be able to take 2 jump rings. And it's very easy to tell it like that. It can be bigger, you'll get a much looser design. Obviously on the example, then there are a lot smaller jump rings. They're still 2 different sizes. Those are 3 mil in a diameter and 5 mil in a diameter. So they're 2 close jump rings. These are obviously the example, the demonstration are obviously vastly different in size, but they will still work because it's how the design grows. So for every one you have 3 in. So when you pick up the next jump ring, you're going to put 2 on, not 3, because then you're going to connect through to that one there. So now each of these jump rings has 3, but one of them is common. Okay, so we're going to shut that one. Obviously when you're using the smaller jump rings, you're using your pliers. Like I say, it's just so much easier for you to see with these bigger ones. So I'm going to pick my 2 up, add it in. So if you're going to do a piece like, well, any sort of piece, if you're doing a piece like the example there, then each of these is ready to go for the next layer, because you've got your piece hanging down, but you've got an extra jump ring there, which I would connect to a chain. So we're going to add another couple of these. Add 2. And when you pick your jump ring to add into, if this is going to be your top layer, you want to make sure that the jump ring that's loose is the one between them. You don't want it one being down here and one being up here. So be aware where your jump ring is. You can, of course, add the smaller jump rings to the bigger ones. The smaller jump rings are fiddly. It's easier always to handle the bigger ones. But that's a personal preference, and we only need 2 on there, not 3. There we go, get off there. So I'm going to add 1 more, then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 along, and then we can start doing this diagonal. So again, we're going to go not for the one next to, we're going to go for the one on the end. Make sure you don't cross over. You want your jump ring to be nice and loose. Right, so we're now at a stage where those 2 can attach to a chain and the rest are free to come down. So when we add the next row, we don't add directly. So a lot of chainmails you would add underneath, but this time if we add there, we'd have 3 jump rings in there, but that can't go anywhere. So we start to have a problem. The only way you can get around that is you're actually going to add one small ring, and then you're going to connect. So we're going to make that hexagon. Come on. Come here, I've got it upside down. There we go. We're going to make that hexagon and pull it into that circle, which allows all those jump rings. There we go. So now we've got that circle of jump rings ready to take our next layer. So as we add another, if I put them on without connecting them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see where we get the next 6 coming to. So we're borrowing 2 from that first 6. Again, if we did it there, we'd have, that one would have 2 there and only go one place. So you can't do a circle. So the only place to put them is like that. You can connect and make a 6 like that, but you start getting into problems what to do. So you could do a little daisy chain, which would look lovely, just connected in the one place. Sorry, that would be like that. And that would work. So each one would be connected by one more and you've got your circle, and that would work. However, to get chainmail, so chainmail comes from the armour that people would use. So to be able to have something that would be wearable, they have to have these build up into shapes. So this Japanese one with the bigger jump rings is quite a loose, open weave. So not good against stabbing, but still would stop a sword blade coming sideways or things like that. So you still have to build this up into a sheet. So this is where we're building these circles. This is the reason for connecting these circles. So I'm going to connect the next layer of circles, and the same principle, I'm picking on this one. So this is going to be my jump ring number 1, and that's jump ring number 6. So I'm going to pick up 2 to go into there to make the 3rd. Move it around. 2 to make jump ring number 4. Each have got 3. Add another 2 to make jump ring number 5. Now jump ring number 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, is going to connect to this one and this one. So we only need to add 1 because we've already got our 2 jump rings. So we're going to pick up 1 there, and then we're going to come into that one and around to pick up to this one. So these are quite open, these, so I'll lay it down so you can see how they're now connected together. So you start building. So for the next one, for this one here, which is where we'd have next, we only actually need to add 3 jump rings because we've already got 3 there. And then you can start building up, so you can add another one here, so you would have another 3 there to make your 6. And you can see you can start building up. This can just spread out and be a full sheet, a full male shirt. You know, this is what it's aiming to be, is to be the full armour. But for a jewellery point of view, you can do a big bib. You can have it for for a collar. You can certainly do chainmail armour for your cosplay and things like that. But to do the neck piece, to do a cuff, you can certainly use it, and you limit it. So you could do a chain like this to do your cuff. What would happen is it would pull like that, and you'd lose these. So it then becomes slightly different. So to keep that in place, we're going to add the other 3. So again, we're going to pick 2. Pick it up. It's a very repetitive type of chainmail. So that's 4, 5. It's the sort of thing that you think about the first few times you're doing it, and then you're just doing. The worst thing you're going to do is add the extra jump ring on. Don't worry about it. You can just take it off, even if you see one when you've finished your piece. So if I'm not going to go any further this way, if I'm going to say leave that and have just the triangle when we finish this one, if we pop that one in there, you could just have that as a little triangle. So you've got your 3, your 6 there, your 6 there, and your 6 there. When you open it, it will tend to do that. But you could leave it like that. So you'd probably take these jump rings off as you were going along. So that's how you make your 3-in-1 chainmail. You build it up. I'll just add another one on here so you can see. 1, 2. So wherever you go, you're adding on 2 into 1, so you've got 3 small ones and 1 large one. Wherever you go, that's what you want to do. If you get the edges, you just remember to either leave one off or just go back when you've finished it and you think, right, I'm adding no more, and I'm going to take these off the edges. it's entirely up to you whether you know that's going to be an edge, so you wouldn't add those two on, then that's fine. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We only want one jump ring on to make it our 6. And you keep adding on like that to build up your pattern. And it can be so effective. You can sew that onto things, which quite often they did used to sew the jump rings onto their armour. So this is how you do your 3-in-1 Oriental Chainmaille. And now we're going to go to the next chapter. In this chapter, we're going to look at the 6-in-2. Now, you might think, well, hang on a minute, that's 3-in-1 times 2. You're exactly right. So this is effectively a doubled up version of the 3-in-1. Why is that important? There are a few factors here. You might have thinner jump rings that look a bit weedy if you try and do the 6-in-1, the 3-in-1, and it just looks thin and doesn't hold its shape. So doing the 6-in-2 bulks it out. So if I fetch this one back over so you can see them next to each other, the silver one, the 6-in-2, looks a lot heavier and thicker and denser than the 3-in-1, even though the jump rings are actually a finer jump ring than the textured jump rings in the copper one. So it just gives you a different perspective. It gives you a chance to use different jump rings, and it gives you variety. So, and you might think, well, I don't ever want to do that one, the 3-in-1. I like this. That's absolutely fine. So in principle, it's the same. So for every 2 large jump rings, we're going to have 6 smaller jump rings. So now we have to think, well, hang on a minute. So my small jump rings are not just having 2 jump rings in them, they've got to have 4 jump rings in them. So they're going to have to be that little bit bigger if you want it quite tight. If you want it looser, then it might be you could use the same jump rings. So I'm going to start off by taking 1 jump ring and hooking up 6 of my smaller jump rings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so straight away, even though we're on the same big size, it already looks fuller. You've already got that extra. So we're going to pop this onto our piece of scrap wire, just to hold on. And you can see how it becomes now much easier to hold it with this. Once you get going, then this doesn't necessarily matter. You can use things like the helping hands, where you can use crocodile clips each side if you want to hold them. Once you've got the top layer, then you can be adding them and it doesn't get tangled. I always have a marker so that I know. And if I'm doing a bib style, then I'll put a marker on each corner. And then as I go, I know I can pick it up, shake it out, and I know it'll all drop into place. So don't worry if someone walks past you and knocks your piece out of your hands onto the floor and you're like, because I know some chainmails they'll fall out, they'll twist, you don't know which way they're going. Whereas this, you can pick up both sides, just shake it out and it'll all drop into place. The Oriental Chainmaille weaves are really good for that sort of thing. They're not twisted, they're not held in awkward positions, they're just straightforward, just as you see. So now we've got 6 on there, we've got to put our second jump ring in. So there's 2 ways to do it. You can either go through in the opposite direction and twist, or you can kind of feed it round. So this becomes more important when you've got more on, but you can feed it in the same direction. So you want to put your jump ring on, so effectively they're separate, but they're all going in the same way. And you want to catch that scrap wire in as well. So now we're holding our 2 jump rings and our 6. So as before, we want to have 2 in. So we're going to pick up, for instead of 2, we're going to have 4. We're doubling everything up, don't forget, on 1 jump ring, and then you're going to go into 2 of the smaller jump rings on the other side. Okay, so we've got enough space, and we're going to close it. We're then going to pick up another one, but we're not picking up any more jump rings, we're going straight into here. So I'm going to feed it around, so I'm going to feed it through those 2 first, if I can get that one out of the way. There we go. I'm going to feed through those. So that's why we have to have our 4 jump rings to fit to go into those smaller ones. And then I'm going to feed these around in the same direction and almost slide them onto that jump ring. So they all slide down, and then we've got that. Now when you're doing smaller jump rings, these have got plenty of room, that will fall out the way, so I can close it. If you haven't got that space, you're going to need to get a plier between the 2 jump rings, because most of the time you won't have enough space. You won't be doing it with your fingers anyway, but most of the time you won't have the space between there for those to be that far apart. So when they've come round, you want to close them with your pliers. Always making sure that you're closing them properly. By that I mean you can hear that little click, so that they join seamlessly. Okay, so we've got all our jump rings on there. We're going to add a few more. It becomes tighter when you get more on, so I'm going to add the 4 on. We'll do our full 6 jump rings in our little circle. So the other way, like I said, of doing it was to slide those on and then turn it the other way and catch those 2. Either way works. It works differently with different size jump rings. So if you've got smaller jump rings, obviously most of you are going to have smaller jump rings than these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then that doesn't become a problem. But when you have when you have smaller ones, it can become a problem, because the gap between there and there on these, if I hold those up, there's quite, let me just catch one, there's quite a decent gap between there. So you've got the curvature. So when you put your jump rings in, you've got that curvature. Most jump rings, you won't have that space to do that and twist round. So that's where the feeding through method comes. But for these size, it's actually quicker to just do that. So we've got 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th set. Again, we're just doing 2. So each of these jump rings should have 2 free. And we're going to pull these up through there, and close. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can make the same patterns as you do with the other. Like I say, they'll perhaps sit slightly differently, because you'll have a thicker, more substantial connection between them, depending on the ratio, the different sizes of your jump rings. We're going to go through there, twist round and fasten. So now we're coming to the 6th in our set. So we want 2 from there, 2 from there. So we're going to add our 2. We just want our 2 on. Pop our 2 in there. Chainmail's a great leveler for jewellery making. If you can close a jump ring, you can make jewellery as good, as accurate, as neat as you can for anybody. So we're going to go through those 2. So as you see, the more you get connected, the easier it is to then feed it around. And there we've got our first set. So you can just add on the same way as you did for the 3-in-1. You just add your next set of 6 jump rings. That's it, 6. And then again, you'd add your next set around there. And you can keep going the same way. And you get this really, with these, when you've got a big difference in size, you get these little moments, especially if you're using a contrasting colour. It can look really effective. When they're all the same colour, it still looks beautiful, but you get that real moment. So there it is in the full size. You're getting those same moments, and you can see the little circles in the centre more so than around the outside. And now we're going to go on to your next chapter. In this chapter, we're going to look at the 4-in-1. So what it says on the tin, for each jump ring, you're going to have 4 small ones connected to it. And again, they're going to be at right angles. So there's no twisting, there's no funny angles. It's all one horizontal, one vertical. So 4 in 1. Let's have a look at this piece. So that looks very similar to the last one when it's draped, but if I pull this out, you can see it's a totally different pattern. So we're now directly below each other. For every silver one, there's a silver one below it apart from on the edges. And you can see quite clearly there's 4 of the gold jump rings in each of the silver. So I'm going to let that go, but it drapes beautifully. There are such a comfy, chainmail itself is so comfy to wear, and whilst it doesn't have the strength of plate mail, it doesn't have the weight of plate mail either, and it doesn't have the restrictions of plate mail, because you were very, very restricted. So when you started using the chainmail, you had better protection, because up until then it was leather, then it went to banded leather, which was jump rings sewn onto leather, just randomly sewn on or in rows. Then you had scale mail, where they'd put little pieces that looked like scales. So they'd put pieces of metal usually on top, but again it was still just sewn on. And then you began getting the chainmail, where someone at some point went, oh, what happens if we link those into each other? And then they all exploded. So you had the different areas of the globe, like everything else, would develop their own style. And the right angle is very, very much in the Oriental style, and you don't really see it in the other main areas. So you had your Persians, your Byzantines, you have which both have usually the same size jump rings. The European, again, same size jump rings. The Orientals very much had the 2 different sizes. And then it exploded. And then when, in modern times, let's jump forwards a few centuries, then you started seeing jewellery, and then it has gone very decorative, and people have taken traditional, old style, what they've used in armour, and then they've taken them and they've developed them, which is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So, sorry, I digress. What are we going to do with here? We're going to put 1 jump ring in, and we're going to put 4 of our smaller ones on. So again, we're back to the fact that each of our little jump rings needs to take 2 of our larger jump rings. And never anymore. It's as simple as that. It's a quite nice thing. So you can have quite thick jump rings with quite small jump rings. I mean, this will work as a chain as equally as if you've got on the example there. They're both the same size, I think. They're both a 5mm jump ring. Hang on, let me just have a quick. Yeah, I think they're both 5mm jump rings. So it'll give you a different look and feel than if you have it on 2 different sizes. You can use the same. It just gives you a different feel. It will be looser, but when you want something to drape, then it looks beautiful, and that will all move. And those are actually a twisted flat jump ring, so you'll get a sparkle coming off that as it moves, which it will. So to start off this 4 in 1, we've got our 4 jump rings. We're going to pick up another 3 onto our second one. Now, if we're going to have a top line, we don't need the extra jump ring, so we're going to leave 1 above, and we're going to pick the next ones up. So we've had 3 on our second one, and we've got 1 up there. So we're going to put 1 up there, and we're going to make our chain with the 1 in the middle. So we're going to add on 1, 2, 3 jump rings and go into our 4th. So each one still has 4 jump rings on, but you can see now where you're getting 1 above, 1 below. I'm going to do another one like that. So 1, 2, 3. Pick up your middle one, and then 1, 2, 3. And pick on your middle one. So you can keep going for as long as you like, and that's your basic chain. So we're going to leave the ones at the top, and we might add another row up there. We're going to come down here and we'll do a block. So, and I'll talk you through reducing it when we've done our block. So that one is going to go over there because that's got it ready for the next block or the chain. So we've got the next one is going to sit directly under. We're not actually bothered about any of those, just that one. So we're going to pick up 3 again, pop through that one. Now we want to bring this one into play. So we want the one next to it and the one above it. So we want 2 jump rings now. Then we're going to go through the one on the left and the one above and fasten that. And you can see how this is starting to build up. So we'll do that another couple of times, pick up 2 jump rings, go through the one next, remembering that you want the one below. So we've got all 3 above and that one's empty. Picking up that one. And another 2 to make our square. Pick up that one and go along to that one. It's quite a quick chainmail, and it's a chainmail that you can have that's very, very loose. As an actual mail to wear in armour, you can see if I pull that along, you're covering quite a long area. So apart from something that's going to stab through, you've covered a lot of body with not many jump rings. It's not a tightly compressed chainmail. So you'd do the same on the lower levels. You could just keep adding. You could keep that and have it as a cuff. You can add the next layer. All the time you're pulling down the one below and the one to the side to make it smaller. Now, so to get the drape, if I hold that out to the side, you can see it decreases. So each row is decreasing by 1. So if we come back over here, so I would ignore that one now. So I'm going to ignore that jump ring and I ignore that one, and I then just add on 1, 2, 3, and then I'd add 1 in the bottom. So you can see you get that taper effect. If you wanted, you could go 1 out there and have a complete taper. I've done that to show you it parallel. So for the next one, you would ignore that one, and we're going to have 2 jump rings through there, 3 jump rings. You see, I'm automatically saying in the next row, I'm not going to need that jump ring, so I was leaving it off. But if you keep it when you're starting to adding on the correct number of jump rings, you can always undo them. The only exception to that is, well, it's not, because one of these jump rings has to be an open jump ring. By that I mean it's got a saw or a laser point cut, and the others can be a closed jump ring. So it doesn't matter which way. So you could have all of these could be a closed jump ring, and each of these could be open jump rings, and the design will still work. You can still do the chainmail, or vice versa. Some weaves of chainmail, you can't do that because they have to have the right number of jump rings. So my last one, and I'm not going to add any jump rings because that would be my last one, and then you've got your taper happening. So you take those off, or you could put a little drop on there for your jewellery and you're good to go. So that's your 4-in-1. It's got 4 jump rings in each of the big ones. You get this nice little, on each of the corners, you get these 4 jump rings sitting. Again, chainmail can look fantastic if it's all one colour, and it can look fantastic if you use contrasting, because you'll get different aspects of it. So that's the end of this chapter. We're now going to go on to the next chapter. So in this chapter, we're looking at the 8-in-2. So this is the 4-in-1 doubled up. I know there's a lot of numbers, but that's Japanese and Oriental chainmail for you. So the 8-in-2 is what it says on the tin. For every 2 of these. We're going to have 8 of these. So you can see much more, because this is a bracelet, not the draped one. You can see much more here that they are straight. I know it's on a tapered stand, so it does look a bit squiff, but you can see they're one above the other. You get the pattern a lot more than when it's draped. The first 3 chapters have all been a draped piece, and it's a totally different look and feel because it's not held in shape, whereas these are held in shape. So these are quite big jump rings compared to the other one, which had 2 the same size, and then we've got a smaller jump ring. So when you've got these, we've got to have our big jump ring, and we're going to have 8 on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So pick up our piece of scrap wire. Again, we're starting to get quite full on there now, and I don't think I'm going to be able to put that through that way without turning it because of the curve. So you've got to go and follow the previous jump ring around to get your second one on. There we go. And close. Don't close until you've got your little scrap on. Okay, so we're now starting to get quite full on there. So we're going to have our next big one. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you want to be putting 6 of your jump rings, and again, depending on which way you're going to do it. So this is on this one I've got a 3-row cuff, so you could take this as the middle row and put 1 above and below. So if we do that, we're going to ignore 2 that side and 4 that side. So that's to give you the 4 corners, the 4 compass points, however you want to say it. You've got your 4 bits. We want to go opposite. So we've got 1, 2, 3, they've slid off, 4, 5, and we're going to pick up those 2 there. With all the doubled up versions, you've got to have enough of a jump ring to get those 4 big ones through. If you have a lot, it becomes a lot more loose. If it's too tight, you'll lose the flexibility. So I could perhaps have gone for a smaller one. I'd get away with, these are a 5mm in a diameter. I'd get away with a 4mm, but the 3mm will not cope at all. So I'm going to slide this over. But you can go as big as you like. You could have huge jump rings if you wanted, so long as I would keep the small jump rings to quite a close size to hold it into a shape. So if I doubled the size of these jump rings diameter wise but kept the same size, you just get a bigger version and it would look absolutely amazing, but you just get this big version. So depending on what you want to do with it, you can be quite artistic, quite decorative. When you're putting your jump ring through, make sure you're not crossing them. So we're going to, again, we want 2 above, so this is going to be the center of our bracelet, which is the easiest one. We're just going to go 2 above and 2 below, and then we're going to go in those 2, and we want another 6 jump rings on here, and then I'll show you how to do the next row. Just 2 of them, not 3. And then add your next one. So again, we're going to follow it around. You're almost like chasing them through the tunnel of jump rings. And if one slides that way, or 2, you've just got to slide them and pop them over. There we go, behave. And then close, making sure you're not crossing them. So once you've got your row, you can do that for as long as you want. So you can actually make that into your full length, or you can work vertically. It doesn't matter whether you work horizontally or vertically with this design, it's the same. So to do the next row, again, it's directly below 1, 2, 3, 4. So you want the first one, you want 6, and you're going to go and pick it on the middle one, and I'm going to go through there. It starts becoming a lot more crowded to get in, so we'll just be able to get round there. and pop through those two. And then we're going to pick up the two right ones after we've put two jump rings on. 3, 4, 2, 4. I think in terms, even when I'm doing a doubled up version, I still think in terms of single. So we're going to go through there, and round through those last 4. And close. So you can now see you've got the 4. Again, you can hang it like that, and it gives you a nice effect. You can play with it. The 4-in-1 is great for playing with in all different varieties. So you keep going on that. So when you're doing the top ones, if you're coming, this is going to be your top edge, you need that one, and you need 2 for that side and 2 for that side, but you don't need any here. So you only need to put 4 on. For you to then have 2 to go that side and 2 to go this side to connect up to there. So you can keep building up, and it builds up really, it actually builds up quite quickly. So that's the end of the 8-in-2. We'll now go on to the next chapter. So in this chapter, we're going to be looking at the Japanese 6-in-1. 6-in-1. 1 big jump ring, 6 smaller jump rings. Now, the 6-in-1 again is quite a loose jump ring, a loose pattern. As you can see from the bracelet, that's a 6-in-1, and it's very indistinct. So you can't really see the center one. The jump rings are, I couldn't have got a tighter one on there, so to have it as tight as I could with these jump rings, it kind of is a bit loose. So I'm going to take it off there so you can have a look at it when it's laid down. So let me just undo that bracelet. So if I lay it down, you can now see that 6-in-1 pattern more. So you can see you've got 1 central bead there, jump ring there, and 6 round it. Now it's all the same colour, which I wanted to do a variety. I wanted you to see the difference with colour and without colour. A lot of chainmail is the same colour, but you can play with that. So if you, with the 6-in-1, if you have, again, these are 5 and 3 inner diameter jump rings. If you have a different colour for the 6-in-1, it becomes very difficult to see because you don't actually see much of the 6 apart from along the edge. So I think it's less effective. I think it becomes a bit more busy when the jump rings are this close in size. However, when we've got the bigger jump rings, you'll see it more clearly. So I'm going to pop this one back. By the way, it is gorgeous to wear because it's so fluid, but it's a heavier chainmail than the others. It's got more coverage. This is going to be your best protection of all the weaves we've done. Not that I'm expecting many of you to be going out onto the battlefield in it, but this would give you the better protection. It's the more dense. So the denser the jump rings are, if they were this size ratio, then you wouldn't be getting a problem from a stab because actually it wouldn't get through. So let me just pop that there. So 6-in-1, 6 of your smaller jump rings, 4, 5, 6, in 1 of your bigger one. Now these jump rings are looser than the others, so you'll see a difference to the other chapters. I'm going to shut that. Right, so we're locked in place. We've got our handhold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now when you form around this, I'm going to pick the next one to go round fully so you can see it. So what you'll have is 1 in the center, and then you're going to start building out similar in a way to the 3-in-1, except you've got, that's your center one. So you're going to have 6 jump rings around each of your individual one. and then you build it up, and again you can build up. You can make shapes with it by doing complete or incomplete circles. So although it's effectively a line and you can build it up in a line, this builds up in circles really well. So if you're doing this as a bracelet and we use that end one, just a single one, then basically you can do a whole row of them and it will build up very, very nicely. So if you think about it, you've got 6 there. So this then becomes your next set of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 around your central one. So it all starts building up, but they all sit next to each other. And if you were doing this, you'd have another 6 there, another 6 there. They're all smack bang against each other and they will all connect. So we're going to add in our next one. It doesn't really matter which jump ring I choose because they're all going to go around it. So I'm going to add in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5. You always don't forget when you're connecting to a previous jump ring, you want one less because you're going to be going through there. So again, there's loads of room in this one. It's quite loose. You could go quite tighter with that. This is a 5mm. You could get a 3mm round here possibly to get the 2 in. Come on, there we go. So we're now going to add one into each of these. We're going to connect to this one first. So we're going to use the one adjacent and keep the others out of the way. Pick up our jump ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to go 1 into there, 1 into there, and shut it. I'm just going to shut that one properly. So we're moving around this one, so we're going to take that one from there and that one from there. So we want another 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And working our way round that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, so on our 6th one, so you can see how this is building up now. If I pull that open, you can see where your links are going. We pick up our last one. We've got 3 connected now. So we can just pick up our 3 jump rings. We're going 1 in that one, 1 in that central one, and then 1 in that first one we'd added. So we've now got our 6 jump rings connected with our single one, and you get this pattern. So like I said, if you're going to turn this into a bracelet, or if we take it from that side, it then becomes quite easy because you don't have to be doing sets of 6. You're just building up. You're kind of finishing off each 6. So that becomes a central one. It's already got 3. You're just adding another 3. So I tend to go outside and outside. So you want 1. You've got 1, 2. So you want another 4 jump rings. And you want that one. So the 2 closest to each other, add on. Then I tend to flip it over and do the other side. You don't have to do it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. And add that one and that one, which leaves you your 1 in the center. So we've just got to pick up the 3. So we want another 3 jump rings to add that central one. There is absolutely no difference in the order you add your links. There's absolutely no difference in the shape to it when you finish it, provided you've got your 6. If these were the edges, I'd take those off the edges because I wouldn't need them, and then you'd end up with your bracelet, and you just keep adding. Whether you're going that way, you can add your 3 there and it works. Whether you're going that way and adding another 3, it works. Whichever way you go, whichever direction you go, you're always building up to 1 in the middle, 6 around the outside, and that is your 6 in 1. So now we finished that chapter, we're going to go on to the next chapter. In this chapter, we're going to have a look at the 12 in 2. That's a lot of jump rings. So you need to make sure before you set off, have a look, have a practice, make sure you're going to fit for a start that your big jump ring will take 12 of your little jump rings. Because that's a lot of jump rings, and if they're crammed on so you can barely shut it, it makes making it exceedingly difficult. You've got to have enough space to get your pliers in there, otherwise you're never going to do it. So we've got, and because it's crammed full, you can see that circle far more than you could see in the 6 in 1. So this is the doubled up 6 in 1. So you can see quite clearly you've got these little rosettes in the middle, so where you've got the circle, and you've got your 12 jump rings coming round to the ones on the outside. So the centre one, the centre row is the row to be, but there's no reason why that can't be double the size, can't be tapered. Again, you can do any shape you like. So the 3 in 1 gave you your hexagons. Your 4 in 1 gave you one on top of the other, a bit like graph paper, directly above each other. This one's more like bricks. So if you look, the central jump rings, if I turn it round, you can see it more on the edge. So this jump ring is offset to those. So it's almost like a brick wall. They're staggered. Instead of being directly above each other, they kind of sit in the gaps below between the 2 jump rings. So that's the difference between these 3 we've looked in during this filming. But so we're going to start off, we're going to put 12 of our jump rings, and again each of these jump rings, each of the small jump rings has to be big enough to accept 4 of the big jump rings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You're going to go through an awful lot of these jump rings. So that's the other thing to make sure is you're going to have plenty. You can see now we've gone from having that many at the start to now we've got a full 12 on there. Now that is quite full. You can put more on, like I say, but you start having trouble. So we're going to feed this round, and again, it won't go that way all the way round. You're going to have to turn it and follow that inner first jump ring to get them all on, and then close. Make sure they're not twisted. So I'd go on the other side of that. There we go, that's better. You want them to be parallel to do, you can start twisting them, that's a whole different kettle. So we're going to take our next one, and we only need 10, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It doesn't matter at this stage for the first one because they'll slide round, so you just want to pick 2 from there, close it up, and then we're going to follow them round. So we're going to go through the attached 2 first, and then almost just sliding them around that jump ring onto the new one. And what I was saying before about using your pliers, this has now become difficult for me to do by hand, so I'm going to grab a pair of pliers so that I can shut that. Even with the big jump rings, it's now become, space has become quite important. So we're going to go in a line and a line. So like we did before, we'll do 1 complete circuit. So we're going to have 2 from this one, 2 from this one. So that's 4. So you want another 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, one through there. So you're going through two and through two and close, and then we're going to go starting with the ones that are connected through those two, and then we're going to just slide those over and close it. Okay, and then we're going to do the same again. So we now want another 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pick up 2 there, 2 there. You can see they start getting quite congested if you had smaller jump rings. So there's quite a difference on the pattern here compared to some of the others. So that's a 9mm in a diameter, sorry, a 7mm in a diameter, as against the 5 where we were having before. So you can start playing with different sizes. So I'm going to slide those over. And this is already holding a lot firmer. So you can see by doubling up, but with this number of jump rings, it's containing that so much more than the 4 or 3 has done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 3 more to go. To pop that in there, and close. Straight away we'll pick up the second one, feed through. Although it's quite jump ring heavy, they are I think the doubled up versions are more spectacular, more impressive very often than the single versions. Depending on the gauges, if you've got a very heavy gauge of wire, then the single ones can look as good. But I see that now is rigid, so we've got 2 more to go, and then you'll see the full effect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we've got 2 in there. Make sure you don't have any loose ones in the middle, because it will be quite difficult to get them out. I'm going to put that through there, slide over, missed that one, and close. Now for the last one, so again we've got the 3 sets already there, so we only need our 6 jump rings to go in, and this is going to be the hardest one to close because you're restricting it by 3 sides this time, so it just becomes that little bit harder because you've only got half of your jump ring and you've got a lot of jump rings on there already. So very definitely need the pliers for that. And pop in your next one through. Again, I tend to go through the caught ones, the connecting ones first, because the loose ones you can slide round and they work quite well. Because this is now tight, I'm going to turn my pliers round, and this is where your bent nose become quite an effective. So you see that's actually almost holding its own. Becomes great for motifs. If you take all these other jump rings off, they become really quite a decorative flower. You can have that just as a motif, or you can continue it along and again make your sheet of your chainmail. So this has been your Oriental Chainmaille. We hope you've enjoyed joining us here at the Jewellery Maker Academy, and we hope to see you all again soon.